Greetings shippers, welcome back. It is our second ever at the time of this recording, Fic Rec Friday. First of all, I have to thank you so much for the positive response to last week's Fic Rec Friday. And thank you as well for all of the recs. I have definitely been checking some of those out, and probably starting next time, we'll be incorporating some of those into this vid as well. It'll be like a 5x+1 fic in recommendation form. It's gonna be very meta. I'm very excited. Also in that video, I did receive a good suggestion by a couple of viewers. That being to include the word count, as well as the fic length, to help you guys determine exactly how long a fic is, and thusly, whether you have time for it or not. So I am going to incorporate that, and thank you very much for the suggestion. It was a good one. I do, however, have to add a little bit of a disclaimer. That being, it is very easy to prejudge fics. Too easy, as a matter of fact. It can be based on the pairing, it can be based on the fandom, it can be a whole bunch of things, and fic length can be one of those things. So basically, take the fic length with a grain of salt. Now, if you don't have time for a 96 chapter fic, of course, that is a very different animal. It's a lot of time. However, that is different than being put off the 96 chapter fic simply because it is 96 chapters. The same goes with drabbles, which are often only 100 words. There can be very intriguing works being made in both the very short and the very long categories of fandom. Basically, every now and again, maybe take a chance with a fic that doesn't seem like it would be up your alley based on length. You could be surprised and maybe find some great fics out of it. I just don't want anybody to miss out on any good fics. Very enthused about fics of all lengths. Now, last time we did do all of our disclaimers, but just in case you were not there, which I of course would recommend checking out the first part of this, there is of course going to be a link down below, or you can click the card and there will be a playlist, just lots of ways to get there. However, if you don't have time, here's the Cliff Notes version. You can expect to see all types of fics and pairings during this series. We're talking about things that could be considered overdone, things that could be considered problematic, things that could be considered rivals. All those things are going to be welcome here. It's going to be a smorgasbord of fandom. So of course, with all of that, it must be reiterated that this is not a bashing zone. Of course, not everyone has to like every fic or even the concept of every fic or pairing. However, if that is the case, there are hopefully other recs to check out in one of these vids or in the comments down below. And there's absolutely no need to seek anybody out due to harassment, be it because you agree or because you disagree. Different strokes for different folks, and of course, ship and let's ship. With all that said, in what I think is a much quicker and more succinct fashion this time, let's get started. Fic 1 takes us into the realm of femslash and into the DC fandom, and it involves Harley Quinn, but it's not who you think. This is When Harley Met Kory by David Hines. One chapter, word count 8,633. That's right, it's a pairing fic for Starfire and Harley Quinn. Now, the Starfire and Harley Quinn in question in this are very much along the lines of either a comic verse or a Batman animated series verse. The whole fic very much plays out like a humorous comic one-shot would, or one of those comedic episodes on Batman the Animated Series, especially with Harley. Think along the lines of Harley Quinn-ade. That's the kind of tone you're dealing with. It has to do with Harley coming into a confrontation with Killer Moth and being thrown asunder only to be saved by Starfire, and the two of them having to team up. It's a good old-fashioned hero-villain team-up fic. If you're a fan of both of these characters, it is very fun to see them play off of each other, and they do feel very in tone, at least for comedic versions of themselves. The pairing aspect of this is very light, to the point where it could be considered pre-slash. However, the way it is incorporated is quite clever and very canonically feasible. It very much feels like something you could see in a mainstream canon comic, and that makes it a very interesting and fun read. So if you're interested in adding a little more femslash to your life, then this is one to check out. There are a lot of obscure pairings out there that get buried under the dominant ones. I have to know, is this one you've heard of? Do you ship it? What are some of your buried pairings? I'm starting the questions early. Let me know down below. 2 is going to take us to a fandom that we haven't talked about in a pairing style vid or a shipping vid, but we have talked about in my one video recommending TV shows. 5 TV shows you need to watch right now. I also add in brackets if you want to. You don't have to watch anything you don't want to. We're going to be talking about Blake 7. Now, Blake 7 is a British 70s sci-fi series, and it's one that is well beloved by sci-fi fans, but it's also one that can slip below the radar. And it's not uncommon to mention Blake 7 and not have anyone know what you're referring to. However, despite this, I would definitely still recommend it, with the warning that it doesn't have the highest production value and the effects value leaves a lot to be desired. However, story-wise and character-wise, It is very, very good. It holds up on those fronts. And it's interesting. It's a series that switched protagonists 2 seasons in. That does not happen a lot. It is also a series, spoilers for anybody who doesn't want to be even vaguely spoiled about anything, but it has gone down in fame or infamy, depending on who you ask, for its ending. The final episode of this series is very, very talked about, and indeed is the launching point for this fic, and many fics of this ilk. It in fact has its own tag called Post-Gouda Prime. This fic is called Dupe by Willa Shakespeare. It is 1 chapter, word count 31,852. This novella-length fic deals with an alternate ending to the last episode, and it is very detailed, very much in the angsty, gritty tone of that final season of Blake 7, and it gives everybody their due. It follows all of the relevant characters. I must add, it does have a major character death, but we are very much still in the pre-tagging era, and the author does leave a note, so you are informed. It's a very interesting look at what could have happened had the series continued, while also trying to find a way to rectify what exactly did happen. It's not a feel-good fix-it, but it's very well thought out and feels so well structured that it very much could be an actual continuation. I will give warning though, that it is a fic that you get more out of if you are a member of the Blake 7 fandom. That is not to say that you cannot read it if you are not, for there are many people who get into fandoms by reading fics or viewing art. That being that they enter into a fic or art piece and then are intrigued to find out more about these characters that they are seeing or reading about. However, there is a lot of background knowledge and history about the character traits, the environment, just everything happening that makes a lot more sense if you've already seen the show. However, again, please, if you're interested, do check it out, and you may be intrigued to check out some 70s sci-fi afterwards. Terrible effects and all. Also, I'm still saying intriguing. That is still my word. I've got to get a new word. Next up, for Fic 3, we're gonna hop over to the supernatural fandom. I know what you're wondering. Is it Destiel? Is it Sabriel? Is it Wincest? It is none of the above. This is a Cass and Crowley fic. This is Stepping into the Same River Twice by Dave Chicken. 1 chapter, word count 2,214. This fic will very much appeal to those who are more interested in the celestial or otherwise monstrous demon characters. All of those types over the mortal ones. Hearing the premise for this fic will let you know right away if it is for you or if it's just a bit too maudlin. This is not the most feel-good fic in the world. The premise of this fic is that Cass and Crowley meet once every 10 years at the graves of the Winchesters. I can hear some of you clicking off right now. No, not my Winchesters. I can pry the Winchesters in my cold dead hands. The pairing element of this fic is very light, to the point where it also could be considered a pre-slash fic, or depending upon how you read it, just very close friendship. Very close. Extremely close. It's a more introspective piece that deals with the nature of mortality, the sadness of immortality, the longevity and lastingness of a person's actions, no matter how heroic. It's very much a piece for those who enjoy thinking about the concepts of the universe. Again, it's not the most feel-good out there, but it is well put together, well thought out, and at the same time, hopeful. So if that sounds interesting to you, then be sure to check it out and step into the same river twice. 4. Now, if 3 sounded like it might bum you out, 4 is definitely going to. There's no way around it. This is The Skin Beneath My Skin by Jabralis. 1 chapter, word count 2,254. This is a fanfic in the Little Mermaid fandom, that being the Disney version from 1989 that launched the Disney animation renaissance that included not only that film, but The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and a couple more depending upon who you ask. Now, Disney's The Little Mermaid is a piece that has garnered a lot of analysis over the years, both positive and negative. One of the critiques that is often leveled at it is that it is too far removed from its original fairy tale source in terms of its happy ending, because the fairy tale on which it is based did not have a happy ending at all. In fact, it dealt with feelings of being trapped, suicide, and examining the tragedy of not truly knowing what one wants and getting it. So some want to bring that element to The Little Mermaid, or at least analyze and question if Ariel would always feel like she made the right choice. This is one of those fics, taking a look at an Ariel who feels that she's made a mistake that cannot be changed. This is not a fic with a happy ending. All hurt, no comfort. However, with all that being said, it is an interesting perspective to explore the remaining of the happily ever after. What happens after happily ever after? Well, in this case, nothing that's that happy. This fic is a serious look at the disappointments that one can suffer in life and aging and choices, and it's not just Ariel, it's Eric too. This is not the only fic like this out there, but this one definitely stands out and is also one of the sadder ones. Committed to that sadness. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you and you just want to explore that and live in those feelings for a moment, then definitely check this one out. So after that, you might need a bit of a pick-me-up for number 5. And for that, we're gonna hop over to the DCEU fandom. Now, I know that might be surprising to some of you. It's a very popular pastime at the time of this recording to not be very complimentary to the DCEU. And that is not to say that it does not have its flaws, because it definitely does. But it also does have a very strong fic form fandom because of that. Now, there are people who very much like the DCEU, and there are also people who see the potential in it. And that's where a lot of fics come from. There are a lot of people working through the potential of what they wish the DCEU was or what they feel it could be, or could have been. Now, this is done in a couple of ways. It can be by building up that universe, or it can be by incorporating the elements that they like into other existing DC canons. The fic that we're about to discuss deals with the latter. This is 31 by Almond Rose. It is one chapter, word count 2,426. This one is set in the time between Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice and the Justice League, in the time where everybody knew that Superman was going to come back. There was no suspense there about that at all. But the question was, how was he going to come back? A lot of people played with the idea of what exactly his resurrection would look like. They also played upon the idea that there's a lot of tension between Bruce and Clark in that film, and just that verse in general. So yes, this is a super bat fic. 100% in the slash realm, but very light. So what is this fic about? Well, this fic deals with Superman being resurrected and gravitating towards Bruce, a common theme in a lot of fics in the DCEU. This one goes a step further by combining the Clark and Bruce of the DCEU with all of the Bat family from the comic verse. All of them. So in this fic, Clark will make regular visits to the Batcave, and each time he does, he meets a new family member. That's it, that's the whole premise. It's a lot of fun seeing this version of the character interact with all of the Bat family. This is a very feel-good fic, and definitely for you if you wish that the DCEU just felt more connected to the DC verses that you know and love. Just in general, if you haven't checked out DCEU fanfics, check it out. There's a lot of interesting work being done there. So those are our 5 fics for this week. I just realized that a lot of them are one chapter and around the same length. That was not purposeful. It is very much a random selection process how I pick these. Essentially scrolling through my bookmarks and then stopping on one, and that being the fic that we go with. I have a lot of bookmarks. We're going to be doing this for quite a while. I hope you're excited because I'm excited. So we will of course be doing this again next week. And if you haven't already, please do follow on social media so you stay up to date with what's coming up next, when we're streaming, and can just tune in for some general fandom chit chat. It's a good time, I swear. Also, please do subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell notifications so that you never miss a vid. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please keep leaving your recs down below and let me know if you check anything out and what you thought of it. There are of course many more videos coming soon, and I have to thank you again for spending some time wrecking with me on this fine Friday. I will see you all again soon, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, and as always, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.